My girlfriend falsely accused me, ran away with her lover, and then came back. But I got my revenge. I still remember the first time I met her, my childhood best friend, and later, the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. Let's call her Lily. Our mothers were inseparable, always chatting over coffee, exchanging recipes, or planning family gatherings. Naturally, Lily and I spent most of our childhood together. From playing hide and seek in the backyard to tackling school projects side by side, we were partners in everything. At first, we were just kids, two innocent souls sharing a bond built on laughter and carefree days. We knew each other's favorite snacks, worst fears, and even the dreams we'd whisper under the stars during sleepovers. We didn't think too much about the future, all that mattered was the present. But as time moved on, so did we. By the time we hit our teenage years, I realized something had changed, at least for me. Lily wasn't just my best friend anymore. She had become the person I thought about before falling asleep, and the one who made my heart race with just a smile. But I kept those feelings to myself, afraid of ruining what we had. She was the constant in my life, and I didn't want to risk losing her. Years passed, and life carried us through high school. We navigated the awkwardness of adolescence together, cheering each other on at milestones, consoling each other during tough times. Still, I couldn't shake the hope that one day she might see me as more than just her childhood buddy. It wasn't until after high school that things finally shifted. One warm summer evening, we were sitting by the lake, a spot we often visited to escape the chaos of the world. As we talked about our dreams, she turned to me with a nervous smile and admitted something that made my heart stop. "I like you, more than just as a friend." Those words echoed in my mind for days. It felt surreal. I wasn't just her best friend anymore, I was the guy she saw a future with. That night marked the beginning of something beautiful. We started dating shortly after, and it felt as if the universe had finally aligned. For 5 years, Lily and I were inseparable. We were each other's first kiss, first love, first everything. Our families joked about us getting married someday, and honestly, I didn't mind. I imagined a future filled with laughter, love, and everything we'd ever dreamed of. By the time I graduated college and landed a steady job, I was already thinking about taking the next step. I had started browsing engagement rings online, picturing the look on her face when I'd get down on one knee. Life felt perfect. Lily was my anchor, my best friend, and my dream all rolled into one. But sometimes, life has a way of pulling the rug out from under you when you least expect it. One night, my phone died unexpectedly, and I needed to send an urgent work-related message. Lily was fast asleep on the couch beside me, her phone lying on the coffee table. It seemed harmless, just a quick message. I didn't want to wake her for something so trivial. As I unlocked her phone, a message notification appeared at the top of the screen. It was from a man I didn't recognize. The preview read, "I can't wait for us to finally be together." My stomach dropped. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, a misunderstanding, maybe a prank. But curiosity got the better of me, and I tapped the message. What I saw shattered my world. For months, Lily had been texting this man, pouring her heart out to him. Their messages were filled with professions of love, plans for the future, and promises to be together. She had told him he was the love of her life, that she was waiting for the right time to end things with me. I couldn't believe it. My Lily, the woman I loved and trusted with every fiber of my being, had been living a double life. I felt like an idiot, blind to the truth that had been staring me in the face. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the messages. My chest felt tight, and a lump formed in my throat. How could she do this to me? Had I been so oblivious? So naive. I couldn't sit there and pretend everything was okay. I woke her up, my voice trembling as I called her name. At first, she was groggy, confused as to why I looked so distressed. But when I confronted her with the messages, her expression changed. At first, she denied it. "You're overreacting," she said, her tone dismissive. But when I showed her the evidence, the damning texts that couldn't be explained away, her defenses crumbled. What shocked me most wasn't just the betrayal, but her response. She didn't apologize or show any remorse. Instead, she turned the tables, accusing me of invading her privacy. "You had no right to go through my phone," she snapped. Her tone was cold, almost indifferent, as if she wasn't caught red-handed destroying everything we'd built together. The argument escalated quickly. I demanded answers, but she gave none. Her lack of accountability, her refusal to admit she'd done anything wrong, was the final nail in the coffin. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Lily stormed out that night, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the empty apartment, leaving me in deafening silence. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. Hours passed, but sleep never came. Memories of us flooded my mind, our childhood adventures, the late-night conversations, the plans we made for the future. They felt like a cruel joke now, a lie I'd been foolish enough to believe in. The next few weeks were a blur. Friends and family reached out, sensing something was wrong, but I wasn't ready to talk. How could I explain that the person I loved most had torn my heart to shreds? One day, while cleaning out the apartment, I found the folder where I had saved links to engagement rings. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen, the cursor hovering over the delete button. It was a painful reminder of what could have been, of a future that was never meant to be. But as time went on, I began to see things more clearly. Lily's betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of hers. I had loved her with everything I had, and if that wasn't enough for her, it was her loss, not mine. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding myself. I threw myself into work, reconnected with old friends, and even picked up new hobbies. It wasn't easy, some days were darker than others, but slowly, I began to feel like myself again. Looking back now, I realized that Lily taught me an invaluable lesson, even if it came at a heavy price. She showed me the importance of self-respect and the need to surround myself with people who value honesty and loyalty. I don't hate her anymore. In fact, I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. But as for me, I've moved on. I'm not the same person I was before, and for that, I'm grateful. Life has a funny way of working out, even when it feels like it's falling apart. And who knows? Maybe someday I'll meet someone who sees me the way I once saw Lily. When that day comes, I'll be ready, not because I need someone to complete me, but because I've learned to love and value myself first. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and couldn't bring myself to talk to anyone. My mind replayed every moment with Lily like a broken record. What had I done to deserve this? Why did she choose to hurt me so deeply? I thought I'd hit rock bottom. But just when I believed things couldn't get worse, life decided to prove me wrong. When I finally mustered the courage to check my social media, I found out Lily had beaten me to the narrative. She had gone public, spinning an elaborate story of betrayal where I was the villain. To my horror, she told everyone, our friends, her family, and even mine, that I had cheated on her. The posts were detailed, emotional, and damning. She painted herself as the ultimate victim, claiming I had thrown her out of the house in the middle of the night because I was guilty and ashamed. The comments section was brutal. People I thought were my friends lashed out at me, calling me a scumbag, a liar, and worse. My family reached out not to support me, but to express their disappointment. The betrayal stung like salt in an open wound. But as devastating as that was, it wasn't the worst part. A few days later, I got a call that sent a chill down my spine. It was the police. Lily's mother had reported several pieces of expensive jewelry missing from her home, and guess who Lily accused of stealing them? Me. At first, I thought it was a sick joke. I had never even been to her mother's houses without Lily being there. I protested, explaining that the accusation was baseless, but the police didn't seem to care. They arrested me anyway. I spent several days in a cold, crowded jail cell, humiliated and furious. My pleas fell on deaf ears, and I was treated like a common criminal. Every second felt like an eternity, my mind racing with fear and anger. How could someone I loved so deeply destroy me like this? Eventually, they released me due to a lack of evidence, but by then, the damage was done. By the time I walked out of that cell, my life was in shambles. My employer had terminated me because of my sudden absence and the rumors surrounding my arrest. My family had all but disowned me, convinced that Lily wouldn't have made such accusations without a reason. My friends had disappeared, not wanting to be associated with someone whose name had become synonymous with scandal. I was utterly alone. For years, I lived in the shadows of that betrayal. The pain of losing Lily was unbearable, but the anger at her lies and the shame of being labeled a thief consumed me. It was as if I were trapped in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Every attempt to move forward was met with the echo of my past pulling me back. Trust became a foreign concept. I kept everyone at arm's length, terrified of being hurt again. But one day, I realized I couldn't live like that anymore. I couldn't let Lily's actions define the rest of my life. If I wanted things to change, I had to take the first step. It wasn't easy, but I threw myself into rebuilding. I hit the gym, not just to transform my body, but to reclaim a sense of control. I enrolled in online courses to develop new skills and fill the gap in my resume. Every small victory, whether it was acing a test or lifting heavier weights, felt like a step toward reclaiming my identity. After years of relentless effort, things finally started to fall into place. I passed a competitive public service exam and secured a stable, well-paying job in my field. I even moved to a new city to start fresh. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe again. Then, just as I was beginning to feel at peace, Lily came back. It was a sunny afternoon when I heard the knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I opened it cautiously. My heart nearly stopped when I saw her standing there. It had been years since we'd last seen each other, but there she was, looking older yet somehow the same. Her eyes filled with tears, and before I could say a word, she threw her arms around me. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I've made so many mistakes." For a moment, I was frozen. Seeing her brought back a tidal wave of emotions, anger, sadness, and even a sliver of nostalgia. She began rambling, apologizing profusely for everything she had done. She admitted she had been young and foolish. Her lover, the one she had left me for, had betrayed her and moved on to someone else. Now, she claimed, she realized the depth of her mistakes and wanted to make amends. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, but another part of me, the part that had suffered in silence for years, saw an opportunity. I invited her in, keeping my face neutral. As she stepped inside, I discreetly activated the voice recorder on my phone. What followed was a confession that would change everything. Lily admitted to fabricating the cheating story because she didn't want to be seen as the bad guy when she left me. She confessed to falsely accusing me of stealing her mother's jewelry to shift the blame when her lover's family questioned her integrity. She cried as she spoke, saying she was haunted by guilt and wanted to make things right. I listened in silence, my anger simmering beneath the surface. Each word was like reopening an old wound. When she finished, she looked at me with hopeful eyes, as if expecting forgiveness. "I need time to think," I said flatly. She nodded, thanked me for hearing her out, and left. The moment the door closed, I played the recording back, my hands trembling. It was everything I needed to clear my name. Without wasting a second, I called my lawyer. For years, I had been the victim of Lily's lies, but now the power was in my hands. With the recording as evidence, I could finally hold her accountable for the damage she had caused. I filed a lawsuit against her for defamation, false accusations, and emotional distress. When the news broke, the tables turned. Those who had abandoned me began reaching out, apologizing for doubting me. My family was shocked, struggling to reconcile the truth with the lies they had believed for so long. As for Lily, she tried to reach out again, begging me to drop the case. But this time, I didn't waver. She had stolen years of my life, and I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. The lawsuit is still ongoing, but I'm confident justice will prevail. Regardless of the outcome, I've already won in my own way. I've proven to myself that I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that life will throw curveballs when you least expect it. People's true colors will show eventually, and when they do, you have to decide whether to let them define you or rise above them. So, to anyone out there who feels like the world is against them, don't give up. Rebuild, refocus, and reclaim your life. Thanks for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to share more stories of resilience, growth, and justice.